أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to the latest episode of Real Talk. We have a fantastic guest with us in the studio today, none other than our great brother Billy Dib, who needs very little introduction, but I will give him a little one. And this is a special episode because it's coming in the context of our campaign for cancer, which we're running to raise funds for victims of cancer and their families and their well-being. So Fitness for Cancer is now in its third year, which is really, really exciting. And Brother Billy is taking part in that with us this year. But first, before anything else, Billy, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the episode, my brother.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, really well, thank you.
To those of you who've been living under a rock, Billy is one of our, and I'm gonna get him to sort of say this part of it himself, in terms of his achievements. But Billy is really one of the well-known personalities of our community, one of the homegrown heroes, a boxing champion, and which belt exactly and in which division and stuff. We'll get that off him in a second. But really, you know, a true homegrown sporting legend of the community, and so it's a real pleasure and honor for me to have Billy with us.
Thanks so much.
How you been, Billy?
Yeah, really well, thanks.
How are things, bro?
Yeah, everything's good, man. Really well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sad time for us, I suppose, with everything that's going on internationally at the time of recording.
Yeah, that's probably probably the saddest thing right now is that the Palestinians, they a serious target right now. And that's really sad for me, being the fact that my mother's Palestinian. Hits you in the heart a little bit harder, and so obviously I'm not too happy right now about that.
No, so but you're looking good, mashallah. You're looking
Thank you.
In great shape.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I'm looking after my health, and it's good to be alive.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Well, I look forward to diving into that, getting some perspectives. I have this feeling that you're going to really jolt me tonight and make me appreciate the great things in life. You stared down the barrel of you know what, and sometimes it's awesome to speak to people like that because we get worried about the day-to-day so much.
Of course we do.
So I look forward to diving into that. But just for those of us who may not be as familiar with yourself, tell us a little bit about what would you say, how would you summarize your career in a nutshell? What sort of boxing, which belt, which division, all that
so
stuff?
I'm a former two-time boxing world champion. I captured the IBO super featherweight world title. And then I descended in weight by coming down to featherweight and winning the IBF featherweight world title. Yeah. So, that was probably the pinnacle parts of my life, pinnacle parts of my boxing career, I should say. I was involved in like 10 world title fights, winning 5 and losing 5. So, alhamdulillah, I had a decent run. I never lost in a fight that wasn't meaningful. I only won or lost in world title fights, which is great. And, solidified myself as a homegrown Australian name, or a household name in Australian boxing, and that's pretty much it right there. Yeah, that's Billy Dib in a nutshell.
Good. And you finished your boxing career how long ago?
I never finished my boxing career.
Yeah, so you never retired formally.
I never retired. I haven't retired. I'm not sure if I am done. So
okay.
No, I don't know. That's just
heard it here, folks.
No, that's a little bit of a joke. No, I look. At the moment, I'm just doing a little bit of training to stay fit, but I never really, said, "Hey, I'm retired. I'm done with boxing." But alhamdulillah, I'm just, like I said, boxing didn't retire me. Cancer did. Cancer is one of those things that hit me, and basically put an end to what was looking to be another great opportunity.
Right. So you were still very much live as a fighter.
I was.
Okay.
I was. Yeah.
Boxers can have quite a long career, can't they? They choose.
Not really.
No. Okay.
Not really. No. Boxing is one of them sports that you got to get in and get out.
So these NRL players that then enter the ring, they're just mucking around.
Well, it's a young man's sport.
Yeah.
It's a young man's sport. It's not a sport to be played games with. It's
when you're 35, 36.
You're 1 punch and 10 seconds away from disaster. Yeah. In every fight, and so it's one of those things where every time you step in the ring, you're putting your life on the line, and your opponent's putting his life on the line. So it's not a game. It's not a game to be played.
Yeah. So you're not a fan of these, NRL dudes that finish up and then.
Well, I'm not saying I'm not a fan. Obviously they bring a lot of attention to the sport of boxing. When you talk about Paul Gallen used to work extremely hard. There's a lot of guys out there who are working extremely hard. It's as I said, it's not a game.
Yeah. So they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, they do. Like, obviously, when you're jumping in the ring, they're preparing to the best of their ability, but they just don't have the skill set of somebody who's been in the sport from such a young age.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is the biggest lesson that you learned dealing with cancer?
The biggest lesson I learned was that time is not promised.
Oh, great. If you could go back to the days just after your first title fight win, so your first win, right, your biggest win, what advice would you give yourself?
Be patient. Don't rush.
Why? Is it because at that point you wanted to just keep going on to the next?
Yeah, I just wanted the world and everything
Yeah,
in it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I needed to
Yeah.
take my time. I needed to develop, and I didn't. I just rushed into more big fights, and I should have taken my time.
And are you saying that because you suffered the consequence of that? Somewhat?
Yes,
What was that
definitely.
consequence if you don't mind?
I lost.
You lost.
I suffered my first world title loss.
Yeah. What does the future of Billy Dib look like?
The future of Billy Dib looks like me being a strong keynote speaker, traveling the world, trying to basically, inspire as many people as I can to find their greatness.
And that's not just coming off the cancer experience. That's also because of your career and what you've achieved.
Yeah,
there.
of course. Obviously there's a complete story there now.
Yeah.
When you often hear speakers like Tony Robbins and Anthony Robbins and all these other speakers, they talk about other people's problems. I'm talking about my own problems and overcoming my own adversities. So, I feel like I've got a great story to tell. I'm a good keynote speaker. I speak well on the stage, and I'm really looking forward to wowing the world with what I've got to tell them.
MashaAllah. Awesome. In a nutshell, what are your reflections on making it to the top and all that means in terms of having hung out with Floyd Mayweather and all the rest? How would you sort of summarize that?
Nothing. Honestly, the truth is that the joy that boxing brought me was seeing my family happy, seeing my siblings and seeing my dad. And, that was what I did it for. I did it to make, I did it for me. But the joy that I got out of it was seeing my family, my friends, my fans, them being happy was all that meant to me. Yeah. I didn't care about the Floyd Mayweathers and all that. They're just absolute nobodies to me.
Fantastic. What was your immediate reaction when you got the news about cancer?
I can't leave my son. That was my immediate thought was, I can't leave my son. Who's going to raise him? Who's going to look after him? So that was my why factor.
Yep.
Why are you doing this?
Yep.
Why are you going to fight this as hard as you are?
Yep. What was your first reaction when you heard about your wife Sarah's cancer for the first time?
I thought it was a joke. I thought she was trying to be funny. I thought she was trying to make a joke out of it because she sort of was talking about, oh, there's not going to be anything, relax, And then when she told me, and I was like, no, you're joking, I was like, nah, I didn't take it seriously. But then when she started crying, I was like, oh, this is not a joke anymore.
Did you make peace with the fact that your time on earth could be over?
Yes. That was the one thing that brought me peace, was the fact that I surrendered to Allah, knowing that I wasn't in control anymore. And I was actually pretty excited to think that Allah was cleansing me of all my sins and going to take me to Jannah. So I was excited about that, but I was sad to feel like I was going to be leaving my son.
And if you don't mind me asking, this was your son from your first marriage? Is that why?
No, he's my son from this marriage.
Yeah.
I never had a son from any other marriage besides what I'm in today.
Yeah. Okay, so now for the slightly more sort of on a different topic. What is your favorite surah from the Quran?
I would definitely say the Fatiha was be my favorite, because it's the first surah that I learned. It's the starting point of every child. So now I'm teaching my son actually how to read the Fatiha now, which is amazing. Yeah.
Aside from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which figure in Islamic history, from scholars to fighters to anyone, do you most look up to?
Salah ad-Din. Yeah, I just love the stories of Salah ad-Din. We need him now.
SubhanAllah.
I ask Allah to send somebody like Salah ad-Din. I wish it could be me.
SubhanAllah.
Like, wow, what an absolute warrior. If he was here today, would this be happening? I don't know.
Well, it took him time, so we hope that there's a Salahuddin out there
I hope so.
working away in the background.
I hope so.
Getting to where he needs to
I
get
ask
to.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring us somebody like him.
Which sports person outside of boxing do you most look up to?
I would definitely say the one sport that's really captured my imagination and really dragged me in is basketball. And my childhood heroes were different. People looked up to Michael Jordan, who was a great basketball player, but my childhood heroes were Shaquille O'Neal and Anthony Penny Hardaway. Mm-hmm. So the one person who I was dying to meet was Anthony Penny Hardaway. I just felt like he was my hero as a kid growing up. And if you told me, do you want to meet Michael Jordan or Penny Hardaway, I said Penny Hardaway every day of the week.
Why? What characteristics?
I just loved him from the minute I seen him on the screen when I watched the movie Blue Chips.
Mm-hmm.
It was a movie where him and Shaquille O'Neal play alongside each other, and that's how they actually formed the duo to play for Orlando Magic. Was because Shaquille O'Neal told the Orlando Magic if they don't sign Penny Hardaway, he's leaving, and so they actually signed at the draft. They signed Chris Webber, and then Shaquille O'Neal was fuming. And then they did a trade-off. They traded Chris Webber for Anthony Penny Hardaway, which was amazing. And he quickly became like my childhood hero in the basketball circuit. And I wrote to him, and I've tried to contact him many times, but obviously with no success. But inshallah, I reckon one day I will meet him.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good. When you're on a speaking tour of the US, maybe perhaps.
Yeah, maybe we'll see what happens.
Fantastic. Okay, out of your friend circle and your sort of personal circles. This is a sensitive question because you'd want to say everyone, but which one person do you have the deepest connection with and why?
I would definitely say that would need to be Adam Huda. He's just been there for me from such a, through the thick and the thin of my life. He was there for me during my boxing career. He's been somewhat of a mentor, after boxing. There's a lot of great people that I can mention, my siblings for starters, but I'm looking outside of that because they're supposed to be like that. Having an amazing relationship with your siblings is supposed to be that. But like to have Adam Huda, I often tell him, I said, I wish you were my brother.
And so is that from a legal angle or?
No legal. I've never had no legal issues, but that's what he does.
Right.
He's a lawyer, but I'm just like a brother to him, and he's a brother to me. We've got so much in common. We love boxing, and we've had some amazing times that you can never forget.
He said today that he's going after the Australian Prime Minister for his comments on Israel.
Yeah.
He's going to take him to court.
I'd like to see that. I'd back him.
Good stuff.
I'd back him.
Beautiful. So Billy, you've obviously, you're no stranger to cancer. And with the campaign that we're doing, Fitness for Cancer, it really is about this massive test and tribulation. May Allah save us from all of it. But we felt when we were thinking about this topic that you had something unique to bring to it, having been through it not just once but twice. And obviously there's a sensitive issue to talk about. So, feel free to tell us if there's anything that you'd rather not get into, that there's nothing wrong with that. But we can learn a lot from your experience. And I think the community can. So that's how we've sort of designed today's episode. So let's talk firstly about your wife, Allah yarhamha. Tell us about your wife's diagnosis with cancer.
Well, I mean, look, Sarah, she ended up with a lump on her neck. And, we didn't pay too much attention to it. It was something that came, then it left, then it came back again. And then one day she just said to me, look, that lump's back. And I was like, we need to do something about it. So her mum actually set up an appointment in Miranda. And we went to the appointment. They took a biopsy. The exact words were, it's just your lymphs. They're probably swollen. We'll take a biopsy. You should be fine. We left. I went home, back to Greenacre. She went home to Cronulla. Then she rang me when I was at home and said, look, I've been called to come back urgently. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't sound good, like maybe I need to come with you. And she was like, no, I'm going to go with my mum. And then, I'll let you know. And I was like, and she was like, what do you think? It's going to be cancer? Don't be silly. And I was like, don't say that. Please don't say that. Then she rang me and told me that she had cancer. So it was like a bit of a slap in the face, And then, you know what? She actually, after being diagnosed, it was like literally 2 months and 10 days later, she passed away. Yeah, so it was a very aggressive leukemia. She has a blood cancer. And, she basically showed so much strength in what she would be diagnosed with. She did not complain. Never once did she tell me, hey, this chemotherapy hurts. Because I can tell you from my experience, chemotherapy really hurts. It's no joke, So, alhamdulillah, to be quite honest with you, I'm just happy that she's not around to see a lot of the things that are happening now in the world. I think that Allah took her as a young girl. She died at the age of 21. So much life to live, but alhamdulillah, she's probably in Jannah now looking down on us, you know what I mean?
So what sort of impact, talk to me about that day, right? You hear that news. What are you thinking as a fiance at that stage? Or
fiance at that stage. Yeah, I was shocked, you know what I mean? Because you don't expect it to happen to anybody who's in your life, you know what I mean? Like, I never expected it to happen to me or to her, you know what I mean? Like, subhanallah, I just feel like when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was thinking like, wow, I wonder what Sarah would be thinking now, because if she had got through it, she'd be thinking, wow, now my husband's got it, like something's going on. So what the hell's going on? But look, at the end of the day, I feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests each and every single one of us in a certain way, and this has been my test. That was my test. Because I really loved Sarah. She was so beautiful, gorgeous, good looking, everything. Like like sometimes I wondered like, how did I end up with somebody so beautiful? You often think that, but and then she was gone, and then you sort of fall into a bit of a hole trying to work out where to go with your life. But I feel like I did make a lot of mistakes after her death, a lot, and reckless mistakes. But I was able to rectify them.
Is that because you were trying to cope and just doing silly things like
I
suppose?
Yeah, I was just trying to cope. I think I was just trying to feel normal and fit in like everybody else. Because the thing is, what people don't understand is that I became a bit of a sympathy act, and I can't be a sympathy act. You can't keep calling me and asking me, "Are you okay?" Because
as in you opened up to the world, and
no, it wasn't like that at all. It was like I was pretty much in a shell about it.
Yeah. Okay.
And
right,
people would be like, "Hey, are you okay?" and whatever. I'm like, I'm fine, man. I'm really good. But people want to see you broken, and they want to feel like they're helping you. And I didn't take that too well.
Right. Okay.
I didn't take it too well at all. So but alhamdulillah, we eventually got past it.
Yep.
And like Allah takes, Allah gives, and to tell you that I'm in an amazing marriage now is exactly what it is. I've got a beautiful son and a beautiful wife who cares for me, and I care for them too.
So that happened. How long did you sort of take to get back right again after that difficult phase?
It took about a year and a half. Yeah, I was on a downward spiral.
And was your career affected at the time? Like, was the boxing affected by that as well?
I had stepped away from boxing, and then
okay.
I decided to come back, and even that was hard because I felt like I knew nothing about the sport when I came back. Even though I wasn't gone for that long, I was probably gone for a year, but I felt like stale.
Yep.
I felt like I was learning how to fight again from scratch. You know what I mean? Like there would be times in the gym that I'd often break down and cry, and
because of your own inability, or
Or it was just like sometimes if a topic got opened up about Sarah, I would break down. You know what I mean? I didn't. The biggest mistake that I did was didn't ask for help.
Yep.
I should have asked
from
for
a
help.
mental health perspective.
Yeah, from a health perspective. I didn't ask for help, but there's one lady who I need to credit for being the turnaround point for me, and that's Hajj Neda. Hajj Neda is like an absolute gem and somebody who I love and adore. And if it wasn't for her invitation to her home one morning where I just basically blabbered my whole guts out, that was my healing point. When she gave me advice, and I looked at her like a mother figure. Like I went to Hajj with her in 2008, so I was able to express to her how I felt. And once I got all that off my chest for the first time, because I trusted her, I felt like I lifted a million kilos off my shoulders. And if I was advising anybody like who's going through anything in their life, if you need help, ask. Because I was like, I can't ask for help because I'm a big tough guy and I'm strong and I'm Billy Dib and I'm a world champion and I'm not supposed to ask for help. I'm supposed to be okay, but I wasn't okay. I wasn't okay. And there's a lot of times that I'm not okay now, even now when I'm like, there's times where you fall into dark moments, you know what I mean? And it's okay to talk to people about it,
I wouldn't mind just being on this one for a second. So for the people listening as well, one of NZF's key programs, Caring Connections, is actually about this. So it's not, in the context of cancer, it's not for cancer sufferers, it's for their family members.
Yeah.
Right? So it's recognizing that people who are around those who are suffering or going through any hardship in life will often be as impacted, if not more, from a psychological. They'll try and be strong, but deep inside they're dying. Like they're really, really hurting. And so check that out, because I think that's really, really important in the context of sort of being family members with someone who might be suffering. So, but on the topic of mental health, which also NZF does a lot of good work around, and even this issue of men and the suppression of of our feelings, which I think is a very common issue, which is beginning to be spoken about now. Is that something that you think was a carryover from boxing? This idea that men are strong, really, really tough guy.
You know what? Like my dad's actually a little bit ill at the moment, and I know that I'm in a dark place because I can't go visit him at the hospital, right? And like I talk to him on the phone, we chat on the phone, but I can't find the every now and then I'll go for like 10, 15 minutes and then I got to bail. I leave the hospital as quick as I can because I don't know why I get these dark thoughts that my cancer might come back.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, I people will never understand if you have never been through it, but it's the hardest thing to go through. Like the pain that I felt was horrendous. I've never experienced pain like that in my whole life, and I just, there was times where I asked Allah to take me because I was like, man, this is not good, And so if but going back to you're talking about the boxing stuff. When I was a young kid, I was at an engagement party and my grandmother actually she basically dropped dead. At this engagement party. She went into the restroom and kids were smoking in the restroom, and when she came out, she basically just collapsed. And yeah, they revived her. They brought her back, but when she died and I saw that happening in front of me, I started to cry. And then somebody said, "Hey, stop crying like a little girl. You're supposed to be a world champion boxer one day. Pull yourself together, And it's funny because for the next few years, I never cried. If I lost a fight, if I lost anything as an amateur, I never cried. I just saw because I was like, hey, I'm a big tough boxer. I'm not allowed to cry. Then eventually, Allah Hamma, my grandmother actually did pass away. I remember my cousin, who is basically like my best friend, one of my soulmates. He says, everybody was crying at this funeral. We're at the maqsad and everyone was crying, and except for me. I didn't cry, and I watched my aunties cry, my mom, my dad, all my siblings, and then I walked outside and trying to hold it together, and my cousin says, "Hey, Bill, you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "It's okay to cry." And the minute he said that, I just burst into tears. And it's funny, I actually have written a book right now, and it's a kid's book, and I'm going to release it very, very soon. It's called "It's Okay to Cry."
Subhanallah.
Right,
Wow.
and the book is about young boys feeling like they can cry. And I often tell parents who I see, if I hear like a parent say to their son, "Stop crying like a little girl," say, "Don't say that, man," because crying is a great endorphin to release. It helps you, it heals. Crying heals. Like anytime that I've been in any sort of despair, or I've been hurt by something that somebody's done or somebody said, if I've cried, I've felt better. If I've held it in,
that relief that you feel afterwards.
yeah,
Right?
and like, it's funny because, I've been involved with a lot of people, and you get disappointed. There's a lot of people who disappoint you. Even sometimes people who are close to you, family members, sometimes disappoint you. You know what I mean? Like, and that weighs heavy on me. And I just try to find a way to let it go because I feel like that's what you just need to do to heal. You just got to let it go. You got to speak about it. You got to vent about it. Sometimes I cry about it in my own privacy. And that's. It doesn't make you any less of a man.
No, it's
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about my own, struggles with various things and stuff, and it really resonates, bro. It's no one really sees what's above the water, the iceberg concept.
Look, man,
right? There's a
people
lot of stuff underneath.
From looking at somebody from the outside, you judge a book by its cover, but you don't know the pain that somebody's feeling. You don't know how deep their pain is. You know what I mean? You don't know about their struggle.
Yeah.
So who are you to judge?
It's incredible. It's incredible. Let's talk a little bit about so that phase. So Sarah gets diagnosed and she passes away. What was the time of her going through cancer like for you?
To be quite honest, I can actually say that it was probably 2 months. I would say before she actually fell into a coma, it was probably the most amazing time of our life together because we were really, really madly in love, and it was just her and I, and that's the reason why I married her, because I remember when we weren't married, and the thing was I was like, I'm not gonna be chaperoned. I don't want to be chaperoned, and I had this thing in my head that love heals, and I felt like by marrying her, she then became my responsibility, and no one could tell me, hey, why are you at the hospital with Sarah by yourself? I didn't want to. In that situation, do wrong by Allah, because I thought that, we needed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as we could at that point. So, I married Sarah with the intention that love heals and that I'm going to be there for her, and I'm going to let her know that regardless of what happens, I'm there. And I can honestly say, from card games, from Uno card games, from board games, like we had so much fun. We actually really hung out, and she wrote in a diary, and she would speak about the experiences that we shared together in the hospital. And Billy came and we played Uno today and whatever. And you know, and that's probably you know, one of my most cherished items is the fact that, you know, she left that behind for me, and I haven't opened it up for many years. When she passed away, I read it a lot, but to say I haven't opened it up in many years, and you know, it just to know that it's there, and I can always go back and reflect on it, and if I ever need to, which I don't, because I'm in such an amazing marriage right now. My wife is so beautiful, and she's such a caring individual and understands the things that I've been through, and that's another thing, you know what I mean? It's like having people who understand what you've been through, and then for me to go through it myself, and for my wife to feel like she might lose me, she kind of experienced what I went through.
Yeah. So that was the good part. I'm going to ask a difficult question, which is that you're staring something in the face. You know something's coming.
Yeah.
The prognosis obviously would not have been good at that stage for her, and her health is obviously deteriorating at that time. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with the near certainty that someone's going to pass away that you love so much?
You know, it was such a amazing moment. You know what I mean? In so many ways, because at the time somebody owed me some money, and a large sum of money. And I'm not going to go into who it was because I've decided to let that go a long time ago. But somebody owed me a lot of money, and I remember being in the hospital, and the doctors called us for a meeting. We had no idea what was going on. We just knew that she was in a coma. She had a situation where, you know, they rolled her over. She had a bit of an episode or whatever, and they called us in and basically said, look, you know, we're really sorry, but we've tried to do everything that we can, and, you know, we want you guys to stay in the hospital. And her father was like, I don't understand what you mean. Like, what are you telling us? And they're like, look, she won't be around for much longer. And he's like, no, like, but I have money, and my son-in-law, he has money, and like we'll pay whatever it takes. And the doctor said, no amount of money that you have out now could save your daughter besides a miracle from God. And so right in that moment, it was the greatest thing that happened, because right in that moment, I was able to part ways with the thought of that person robbing me for the money, because I was like, if I had that money, I couldn't even save her life. So what point is money now? What good is money now? And maybe if I had that money, I would have killed myself in a car accident because I would have bought a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, or I would have done something silly, and maybe I would have killed myself. Maybe Allah protected me from that happening at that point. The other thing was that after we had that meeting, I followed one of the doctors out who, I don't know why, but my uncle Haysam passed away from cancer a long time ago and leukemia. And when this doctor turned up, his name was Dr. Raj Reddy, he reminded me so much of his resemblance was like my uncle Haysam. Had this really beautiful looking face, nice hair. So I followed him outside and I said, Dr. Raj, I need to ask you a question. Like, is she coming back? And he goes, she's gone. And I was like, what do you mean? He said to me that she's brain dead. And he goes, I'm going to show you the scans. And he goes, but I didn't want to say that in the room. And I was like, can I see him? And he showed me, and her brain was like a light grey. And then after a couple of scans, it turned black, like pitch black. And he goes, that means she's brain dead. And he goes, even if she woke up by a miracle, she's brain dead. She goes, she's a complete vegetable. You'll be looking after somebody in a wheelchair. So, you know, I actually I remember after he spoke to me about that, and you know, we was sort of allowed to sort of stay in the hospital, but, you know, people would leave in that. I remember coming early one morning and having a conversation with her, and basically just telling her about what had happened. And I explained to her what's going on, and I said, Sarah, they've had to open your skull, and they've had to remove your skull from your head, and like there's like really bad scarring on your head right now, and I know that if you do wake up from this, you're not going to be very happy about the way you look. And I told her, I was like, listen, Sarah, if you have seen something better, I want you to leave, because I felt like there was a time where she could have come back, but I feel like maybe she saw something better and didn't want to come back. And you wouldn't believe it when she said that. I was actually sitting on the chair. She was laying down. Her head was here, and her feet were like down that way. And she lifted her arm, and it came down. And I jumped back. I sprung back. I was petrified of what just happened, because I had been talking to her. But
so she's in the state where she can't really speak.
Yeah,
and
she's in a coma. She's brain dead right now. And she lifted her arm, and then the arm dropped down, and then I ran out, told the doctors that she just moved her arm, and they said to me, it's impossible.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, listen to me. She just lifted her arm, and I jumped back. you calling me a liar. They said, Billy, it could have been just a spasm or something. And I said, it wasn't that. I think she was acknowledging that I've seen something better. I really think that. The deeper that I think about it, that's what I think, because
they barely know anything about the human body even to this day.
And like I've seen Sarah in multiple dreams since she's passed away, and the dreams that I've all seen is that it's positive. No, it's really positive. It's really been positive.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
What tell us about her family, your family, the reactions when she was diagnosed, when she passed away. How was it on the families?
Her mum and dad were devastated. Her dad's never going to be the same man. I haven't seen him in many, many, many years. They want nothing to do with me. I mean, like, obviously, they've got their reasonings and stuff like that. And but the times that I did see her dad, like, he aged overnight after she died. That was his heart and soul. He had 2 other kids, Yasmin and Tariq, but Sarah was his heart and soul, and once she died, his heart died with him, with her. You know what I mean? So, like, I feel for them, because I get an opportunity to move forward with my life, to start another family and have a beautiful son like my son Laith, and have a beautiful wife like Berry, and I get to move on. But I'd be lying if I told you that Sarah doesn't live in my brain every day. She does live in my brain. She definitely owns a part of my heart, and definitely owns a big portion of my brain as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that I'll never be able to let go of. I don't, and I don't want to let go of it. I can live the way I'm living. You know what I mean? Like, when I was diagnosed with cancer myself, Sarah came to me on multiple occasions and asked me to come with her, and I said no. I said no, I can't. I said I can't leave my wife and my son.
In your dreams, you mean?
Yeah. Even like when I was drugged up and stuff, I started hallucinating and seeing her and stuff. But I actually told her in my dreams that no, I can't live with you because I love my wife and my son. If you actually ask me the question now, would you replace Berry and Laith for Sarah? I would tell you no. Couldn't do it. Yeah. I love them. I love them way too much. Yeah. Like, especially my wife Berry. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't thank her enough. You know what I mean? I know she probably doesn't even know, because she often says silly things like, you don't even love me. And I'm like, if only you really knew. Yeah. Like, she'll never know how much I appreciated her and how scared I was to leave her and Laith. Like, no one will ever understand that. You know what I mean? It's like, and every time they would come and see me in the hospital and whatever, and then they'd leave, like, they never saw that I would shed tears. And it was hard, man. Yeah, no, it's fine. I can imagine. Very hard.
And what sort of support did you have around you at that time? In that 2 months?
Obviously, I had my siblings. Yeah. I had Sarah and Sarah's parents for a little while. I had my mum, who was an absolute rock. I had friends, family, you know what I mean, who were there. But yeah, I just feel like, there was probably one person who I won't mention, who I sort of would have loved for them to be there, and right by my side wasn't there. And it's probably another thing that will, like, forever eat at me. SubhanAllah. But alhamdulillah, look, it's I got some really good people around me, and I've managed to overcome all of that and to be where I am today.
Not to dwell on that on a negative, but it's an interesting one, because sometimes when you go through hardship, you sometimes, I guess, I don't know, like, people around you, not they see their true colors, but this idea that certain people should be there with you. Has that taught you a little bit about what sort of people you have around you?
I've learned to rely on other people. You know what I mean? Like, the people who you expect to be there for you, sometimes they can't be there due to the circumstances of their life, and you can't always rely on them. And to be honest with you, I'm only just starting to learn that right now. You know what I mean? Like, right now, I'm actually learning that, I don't need to have certain people in my life. It's fine. I'm good without them. I'm good with them, and I'm good without them. It's no problem. If they want to be around, it's no problem. If they don't want to be around, that's no problem either. Yeah. I have no issue anymore. Yeah. I have come to terms that my life is dedicated to 2 people only, and that's my wife and my son. My mum and dad and my siblings will always be ala Rossi, you know what I mean? Yeah. But the only 2 people that really are my concern are Laith and Berry, and that was the biggest thing for me once I was told that I wouldn't be around for much longer. was like that were my concern.
And we'll get to that, obviously. But thank you for sharing that, bro. That's it's beautiful, amazing reflections. And we ask Allah to have mercy on Sarah and you know to reward you for everything that you went through. That's a tough fight, that one. Subhanallah.
Yeah, it is.
So everyone, we'll take a bit of a break quickly and tell you a little bit about our Fitness for Cancer campaign. So as you know, we're running this for the third year this year. It's an amazing campaign where you get to create your own fitness regimen or goal or objective or 1 month long thing or whatever it is that you want, a fitness goal of some sort to help raise funds for cancer. That's the basic idea. So what we want as many people in the community to do is to go onto our community page at LaunchGood to set up your own profile, to set your goal, and then get it happening. Share it with your friends, family. Tell them when you're aspiring to the goal that you're aspiring to, and raise as much money as you can to help with NZF's contribution to the fight against cancer, helping victims of cancer or people who are suffering from cancer, but also their family members. And that's what the idea behind the Fitness for Cancer campaign is all about. We've had some amazing people join us in the past, but the key thing is that in the week of the 25th of October to the 1st of November, that's when you want to try and reach your fitness goal. So whether it be that it peaks in that time and you've been doing it from before, or whether it's a 1 week long thing, seeing how much you can lift or how much you can run or whatever it is, make sure you do that. I'm actually seriously considering doing it this year because I'm actually in the gym and doing good stuff now. So it should be good. But Billy will be one of our ambassadors, which is fantastic. Sister Reem will be another one, and that should be really, really cool. So get into that if you haven't already. Second thing I want to talk about, and I mentioned this in the discussion, is the Caring Connections program that NZF runs. So as I mentioned before, that it's not just people who are suffering cancer or chronic illness, it's the people around them. And as you know, if I can speak from a very personal perspective, as the father of 2 special needs kids, and this goes to some of the stuff that we were discussing, the impact on the people around those with chronic illness can often be the greatest. And so I really, really, really appreciate the sort of work that NZF does in this space. So help for people, family members dealing with illness, caregivers of recovering family members, bereaved families. It focuses more so on cancer, but also other people who are going through that sort of challenge. And what we try and do is to connect people through that program with each other, with the community, to give them a sense of purpose, to help them find a sense of purpose in life and a sense of belonging in the community. So the idea is to enhance quality of life and to enhance the way that they're feeling about themselves as active participants in the Australian community and the Australian Muslim community more specifically. So that's a fantastic program that will also be supported through this campaign. And if you are specifically interested in finding out more about how you can be a recipient of support from this particular program, then head on to NZF's website, nzf.org.au, and check out the Caring Connections program. And while I'm at it, I might mention also what Billy mentioned was his book. So Billy, tell us the title of the book that you've already published.
Yeah, so the book that I've already published is A True Heart, The Fights of My Life. And it's a book that's, about my boxing career, but also about the struggles of my life, the trials and tribulations, the highs, the lows. It's a book about my whole life. And it's as I said, it's not just a book about boxing, it's a book about
life and its struggles.
Yeah, there's a message there. Yeah. There's a great message there, about how to overcome certain things in your life and how I did it.
Awesome. And people can get that on Amazon, I'm assuming?
It's available by going to my webpage, which is billydib.com. It's also available on Amazon. It's the number 1 seller on Amazon at the moment. So, it's a great book. And it was recently voted Memoir of the Year.
MashaAllah. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I know what I'm buying on Amazon tonight. So that's awesome, bro. Good stuff. Congratulations. That's absolutely fantastic. So alhamdulillah. So, all right, let's get into the second part of the discussion. So I want to talk about your journey through cancer now, right? Give us the lowdown. Like, what happened? I mean, was this completely out of the blue?
Yeah, it was just something.
How was it detected?
Yeah, it was just something that really came out of the blue. And one day I was sharing the boxing ring with a really close friend of mine whose name is Billy Dib as well, who's an absolute gentleman and gem of
the brother from the Gold Coast?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And we often spar and train together, and he hit me with the body shot. When he hit me with his body shot, I felt a pain that I've never felt before. It didn't win me, but it caused like a pain, and I thought maybe like I tore something. I felt like I tore something. Anyway, after a few days back and forth, a couple of mishaps with the hospital, not being able to go to the restroom and just constant nausea and vomiting, I eventually contacted my brother. Rang me, and I was at home at my mum and dad's place, and I was on my knees on the floor and begging for mercy. And my brother rang me. He's like, "Hey, like, why am I seeing you in hospital yesterday? What's going on?" I was like, "Bro, I forget that you to help me tonight, because if you don't help me right now, I'm gonna die. I'll be dead by tonight." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Something's going on in my stomach. Something's growing in my stomach. I can feel it." Anyway, he put me onto a hematologist, whose name was Dr. Pran, and Dr. Pran said, "Get to Norwest Hospital right now." And he's like, "If you're in pain, that means you're in pain." He goes, "I know you can tolerate pain." So I went to the hospital. Long story short, doctor came to see me after being sick for endless hours, and then
and you were what, vomiting and
vomiting and stuff. Yep. And then they said, "Okay, they did a couple of scans, and then they located colon cancer." I then, had the operation. They removed 9 centimeters of my colon. There was a 7 centimeter tumor around it, but they cut a 9 centimeter diameter out just to make sure that there's nothing around it. They mentioned that I might need to do some chemotherapy, which I wasn't too keen on doing, because Sarah died from chemotherapy, not from cancer. She was in remission when she died. So she died from chemotherapy. So I had I was very reluctant, and I didn't want it. And they told me, "Look, it's definitely up to you." And so then I spent a week in the hospital, on a water diet and everything like that. Once I started to feel good, after a week, they let me go home. I spent a week at home. Then, so from Friday 2 Fridays later, I was in a complete mess, and I was at my wife's cousin's house, and they rung the hematologist, and he said, "Look, I was hoping that I didn't have to see you guys till Monday." He goes, "Because we've actually detected that Billy has non-Hodgkin's Burkitt lymphoma cancer. It's a cancer that attacks your lymphs. It's in the blood, and it's not looking good for him."
So that spread.
Yeah, so they said, "You need to bring him back." So we basically went to the hospital, and that was probably one of the worst nights of my life. I vomited close to 50 times. But, once you vomit a certain amount of times, you still vomit, but there's nothing that comes out.
It's just that feeling.
So it's just an excruciating pain of anyway. They finally did this little procedure, which I had to do while I was awake and sitting in the bed. And it's the most excruciating little procedure that I've ever had in my whole life. I've never felt pain like that in my whole life. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, but if you do want to watch it, all you got to do is go to detainees in Guantanamo Bay and look up a guy called Mos Def, who did it to show them what the detainees of Guantanamo Bay are going for. And basically what they do is they pin you down to a chair in Guantanamo Bay, and they force a tube down your nose, down your throat. You feel like you're going to choke and you're going to die. Well, that wasn't happening to me, but I remember the cup looking something like this, and she was holding the cup, and I was holding one doctor's hand. The other doctor was trying to feed the thing down, and the other one's holding a cup, and he's telling me to drink while she's putting that down my throat. I can't even, swallow. But I finally swallowed this tube, and once I swallowed the tube, he said to me, "Now I'm going to show you why I needed to do that." And basically what he did was he just pumped everything out of my stomach into a bucket and relieved me of all that pain. And then I finally, it was maybe 3 a.m. He was like, "I'm going to give you some medication." And I woke up the next morning, and when I woke up, there was somebody who is really dear to my heart. His name's Atel Hakakat, and he's somebody that I owe so much to. I woke up and he was sitting right in front of me, and I was like, "I can't believe he's here," And I wanted to talk to him, but I couldn't because I had this tube that was up my nose, down my throat. And he told me, "I don't need you to talk right now. I'm just here for moral support." And I wanted him just to hold my hand, just to know that I just held his hand. I was tired. I needed to sleep, so I just held his hand because I just didn't want to let go. I wanted him to be there with me. Yeah, so that was the start of this journey with cancer. And basically, maybe 2 days after all of this ordeal, they finally moved me to a room. And when I was in the room, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Hertzberg made his way into the into the room, and me and my mum were sitting in the room. My mum was just telling me that there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. I can feel it in my heart. You're gonna be fine. They're just gonna let us go home. And I was like, I really hope so, Mum. You know. And then the doctor walked in, and he looked pretty serious. He had a folder, and he said, "My name's Dr. Hertzberg, and I'm a hematologist." And I said, "Good to meet you." He said, "I don't know what a hematologist is, but it doesn't matter. It's good to meet you anyway." So then I sat down, and he goes, "Can I speak in front of that woman?" And I said, "That's my mum. Anything you could say to me, you could say to her." And he basically just said, "Look, I know you've got reservations about chemotherapy, but I'm here to let you know that things are looking really grim." And I was like, I understand what you're talking about. He basically said to me, "Look, you know, to put it bluntly, you got 6 months to live." And I was like, I remember exactly what I said. I was like, "Alhamdulillah, thank you for telling me that, but I'm going to tell you something. You're not God and you can't tell me that." And he goes, No, I never said I was God. But what I am telling you is that I'm a hematologist, and this is what I study, and by the bloods, and by the look of you, and by the things that we've seen in your scans, it is not looking good." And then I was like, I looked back at my mum, and she'd like burst into tears. And I smiled. I remember smiling. And then I looked back at him, and I said, "I got to tell you something." He said, "What is it?" I said, "I got a 3-year-old son that I need to walk to school in 2 years' time." And he's like, "Okay, how do I turn 6 months into 60 years?" And he goes, "Why?" And I go, "Because I told you, I've got a son. I've got to look after my son and my wife. I can't. Who's going to look after my kids?" And he's like, "Well, you just found your reason. You just found your reason to survive." And I was like, "I'm on board." And he was like, "Just like that." And I was like, he goes, "What about all your reservations?" I said, "Look, man, you need to understand something. My wife died from cancer, from chemotherapy, not cancer. So you can understand my reservations, but you need to understand that was her journey and this is my journey. I'm not going to die." And then he said to me, "This will be the most difficult challenge of your life, but you're young, you're strong, and you're fit, and you'll get through it." And I said to him, "Is that a protocol thing for you to say?" And he goes, "Why would he say that?" And I said, "Because that's exactly what you told my wife, and she died." You know? And so then he said to me, "Look, as you said, that was her journey. This is yours." He goes, "If you're dead set about this," he goes, "we've got to transfer you tonight to another hospital to start your chemotherapy tomorrow." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go." You know what I mean? So, you know, I beat the bullet and went as hard as I can. You know what I mean? I was in a, like, when I first started the chemotherapy, I thought, "Oh, this is okay. This is no big deal. I can do this." You know, and the first day was like 2 hours. I was like, "This is nothing." The second day was a few hours. Not really feeling sick because they give you all this medication to prevent it. And then the third day was like a Mack truck hit me. I felt like I'd been run over by a complete steam train. They came in and they were like, "Oh, look, we're going to do an infusion today, which is going to go for 23 hours. And I was like, 23 hours. And I was like, I just like laughed. I was like, "Why would I need a 23-hour infusion?" They're like, "Listen, this is going to be a very difficult time and you're going to get through it." They said, "But then we're going to need to flush you. The minute that it stops, we're going to need to like give you a lot of water and it's going to go through the drip. So you're going to be going to the bathroom a lot." And wow, let me tell you, when I tell you, I felt like I'd been hit by a Mack truck. And then literally days after that, I went in the shower and all of my hair just started falling out. My eyebrows, my hair, my beard. It was just a mess, complete mess in the shower. My everywhere, my arms, my legs, everything just started like, it was like somebody hit me with a gurney, you know. And I had all these patches of hair everywhere, and I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And the most excruciating part was the fact that I had to get whatever they put in my system out, and that would need to be flushed with like liters and liters of water. So
just drinking water every day?
No, not drinking. It was just going through a drip.
Right.
So I'd sit down, I'd go to the restroom, I'd sit down, then I gotta go to. So it was like a back and forth thing. It was like something that just kept on happening. In the end, I was like, "Man, I can't make it to the restroom anymore." I was dead tired, had no energy. I was like, if a fly hits me in the face, I'm dead now.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
And, you know, and like basically, you know, you lose. I had no shame anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and I was lucky because, you know, I got 5 brothers and 1 sister, so they would alternate days, Monday through to Saturday. And then my wife would come on Sunday, spend a day with me, and then my mum had a rule that Nobody was allowed to stay with me at night except for her.
Right.
She only gave up like 2 or 3 nights where she let my brother Jihad stay with me because I was like in a really bad way.
Yeah.
But yeah, to tell you that I'm here is like a miracle. You know, well, I honestly felt like there was no way that I was gonna make it, and you know, it
How
was
long did that period last? That period that you're describing right
a
now?
long time, man. A long time.
Weeks,
Months.
months.
That
That chemo cycles and
yeah, because it happened a few times. I had to do that methotrexate. It's called
Yeah.
methotrexate.
Yeah.
Just the sound of it, methotrexate. Wow. You know, and I received a message from a friend of mine whose name is Sid David, and he's not even a Muslim, and he actually said to me in a message, "You need to surrender to God." And when he said that, because I said to him, "Sid, I think I'm gonna die," and he goes, "Surrender yourself to God. You're not in control anymore. God is in control right now. So all you can do is ride the wave." And the minute that I accepted that, and my relationship with Allah I remember growing. It grew so much. I already had a really strong relationship with Allah. I was always connected to my faith, but that made me so much closer, and like my reliance upon Him was like no other.
Like how must you have felt in those moments where you knew He's the only one sustaining you? Like there's nothing. You know, we all have these delusions about our own abilities, and
No,
and,
we don't.
you know,
There's
Yeah.
no ability. The only ability that you have is that your mind needs to be strong. My mind was strong, because all I could think about was, get up. There's no way you're gonna lay down to this. You gotta get up. You got a son to walk to school, man. You said you're gonna walk your son to school, so I talked to myself. You gotta get up, Billy. You gotta get up. Don't do this. You know what I mean? There's too many people that are gonna hurt if you leave.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like, no, I'm determined. I'm not gonna do this to my family. I'm not gonna do this to my mom. I'm not gonna do this like to my siblings. You know, it's so crazy because I was on so much drugs and I was hallucinating, and there would be times my mum, poor thing, she'd be staying with me, and I would talk and talk and talk because I was on drugs, and she would just deal with it. And I tell you a funny story. When I got cancer, I actually contacted somebody who's very close, was very close to me from a young age. His name was Prince Nassim Hamed. He's a legendary fighter.
the British guy.
Yeah, the British guy.
Mashallah.
He's like my childhood hero, and he's like the Penny Hardaway of basketball in the boxing circuit. And
He was quite a character.
yeah, he was my childhood hero. I became like brothers with him. We connected when I was 17, and we traveled together. We
Wow,
spent
that's
time-
amazing.
Yeah. But we had a little bit of a fallout before I got sick,
Right.
and I hadn't spoken to him in months. And when I got sick, he was one of the first people that I contacted. And I said to him, "Naz, I need to speak to you." And he basically responded back with a message saying, like, "What's up?" Like in an arrogant way. And I was like, "I really need to speak to you on the phone because I need you to understand what's going on." And then he wasn't having it, so I sent him a voicemail just saying, "Look, Naz, I love you, man, and I just want you to forgive me if I've wronged you, and I'll forgive you if you've wronged me, but I just wanted to let you know, man, that I'm not going to be around for much longer." And then when he heard my voice message, he was like, "Hold on 1 second." So he picked up the phone. He's like, "Bilal, what are you talking about, Habibi?" And I'm like, "I'm going to die, champ. I got cancer, man." And he's like, "Don't say that, Bilal." And I said, "No, I'm just telling you what they told me, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be around for much longer, man." And he's like, "I'm coming to see you." And I'm like, "No, I don't want you to see me like this." And then he basically became like one of the people that I relied on, you know what I mean? Like he would, when I was a kid going through difficult times, he always pulled me out of the hole because of his positivity. And he was able to do that for me while I had cancer. And like he may or may not know this, but he just definitely played such a big role in my life, you know what I mean?
Was he here ever in Australia?
No.
So it's all from overseas?
No, he's been here before, but this was all from overseas. This was over FaceTime calls. But even when I was on drugs, I was like, "Naz, if you love me so much, how come you not follow me on Instagram?" But like, that's just the drugs talking. That's what my mom was telling me, you know what I mean? But when you're on them drugs and you're on that CBD oil and stuff, it puts you in a state of like hallucination, you know? And I was like I said to you, you know what I mean? The fact that I'm here is just a complete blessing, wallah. It's a great story because it's a story of resilience and a story of overcoming something that a lot of people come. And like for me now, to be honest with you, when I meet somebody who's got cancer or somebody who died, somebody who lost a family member from cancer, I kind of feel a bit guilty because I'm just lucky that Allah has given me
written more time for you.
Yeah, He gave me another chance. And that was like my dua. I was like, "Ya Rab, if you've opened up a place for me in Jannah, take me now, but if you haven't, I'd love some more time with my wife and son. You know.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask about your wife and your son. So what was going through? Well, your son's quite young, but your wife's mind. What was going through her mind, and how was she feeling?
My wife was.
Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry to break the flow of the
Yeah.
conversation. Just Billy, if we can avoid just playing.
Sorry.
Yep. So I'll start again. Yep. That one. So on that note then, your wife. So how was it for her? Obviously, your son's a bit young at that stage, but what about your wife?
You know what? She was like really strong, man. I know she probably was putting it on, but she would often tell me, you know, you're so lucky because Allah's cleansing you, and if you leave, you're going to Jannah. Like, wow. It's like she would say things like that, and I was like, I know, but I don't want to leave you guys, you know. And she's like, we'll be fine, but you're not gonna leave. But if that happens, we're gonna be so happy to see you in Jannah one day. You know what I mean? Like, you can't listen. It's a very emotional thing to talk about. It's like really hurts your heart and stuff. But the craziest thing is my son knew what was going on because he overheard conversations. So he would start telling people, "Hey, my dad's got cancer. My dad lost his hair because my dad's got cancer." You know what I mean? Like, you know, I would tell my wife, "It's like, man, this is too much for a 3-year-old kid. This is too much." And you know, when I would in the end they'd let me at home, but I'd go home for a few days or like 2 or 3 days, but I'd be sick. And my son would like, "Dad, do you want me to get you a vomit bag?" and whatever. And I'm like, man, this kid's 3 years old.
SubhanAllah. So
It's
he
too
had that
much.
much understanding that he knew what was going on.
He's very, very switched on for his age because he doesn't go to childcare or anything like that, but he hangs out with my wife and he's always with her and her friends. So he always hears adults
the
talk and stuff,
conversations,
and so he hears things, you know. So like, you know, and there was one time that he actually asked me like, "Dad, are you gonna die?" And I'm like, wow, man, this kid, man, like, you're just a kid. What do you know about death? You know what I mean? And I was like, "Dad, I am not gonna die." And I was like, "Dad, if I die, I'm going to go down fighting, I promise you." And so, you know, like, I actually became really open on my social media. And
Yes, I noticed that. I was following that.
There was a reason why, because a lot of people messaged me like, "How could you be so open about your journey? And how are you doing, like, live conversations and whatever?" Like, and I was like, "Listen, you need to understand everything that I've done was strategically done for a reason." And the reason was that deep in my heart, I didn't think I was going to make it. And I thought that this would be a way that I could leave something behind for my son. Yeah. And so, you know, one day he'd be able to look back on these videos and say, you know, my dad did everything in his power to be there for me. And that was my goal. You know, it was like, if I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave something behind for my son. And in fact, there was times that things were so difficult in the hospital, so painful. And I was like, I'm not making this. So I would actually film myself. I would put the phone like against the wall of something and like have it face me and be like, "Dad, just letting you know I'm doing everything in my power." But, you know, I tried, and then there was videos where I would tell him like, "Dad, listen, I don't know, you're probably like 10 years old now, and I just want you to know that I love you so much, and, you know, I'm sorry that I'm not there with you, and, you know, I pray that, you know, you're doing well, and I hope you're treating your mum really nicely." And I would do these recordings, and then you know, obviously I'd get emotional, I'd cry and whatever, and then I would put him in the deleted folder in the archive because I never wanted anybody to see him. But I did tell my wife that, "Listen, if anything ever happens to me, I need you to take the archive, and there's some things in there for Laith and for yourself, and just drip feed him to Laith as he goes through his life."
Yeah.
And I did some extended videos, and then when I got the chance to delete them from my phone was probably one of the biggest weights that I could take off my shoulders.
Yes,
and even though I know that life in time is not promised, but, you know, because I could die in a car accident. I could be driving home now and be smashed by a truck and killed, you know what I mean? But at that point, it was important that I do them videos because I needed my son to see that I persevered. Yeah. And one day when he gets older, he's going to understand that my dad did that for me. Because had he not been around, I wouldn't have done the chemotherapy. I wouldn't have done it. If it wasn't for him and for Barry, I would have never done the chemo. They are the reason why I done it, and they're the reason why, through Allah's permission, I'm here today. I bit the bullet and persevered for my son.
I'm looking at your Instagram now, and so how long has it been since you've been cancer free?
So I was told that I was in remission on March the 6th
Of this year.
of this year.
SubhanAllah.
Yeah. So that was probably the greatest
Because saying
moment of my life.
36 weeks ago, you were bald in those photos.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is like half a year ago.
Yeah, so basically on March the 6th, Dr. Bhattacharya rang me and said, look, I can't talk for too long. He goes, because I'm just about to go into theatre, but I am going to tell you something. I got some really warm news for you. And I was like, really? And I was like, what is it? And he's like, you're cancer-free, mate.
Yeah.
You're in remission and you're cancer-free. And he goes, I don't have a lot of time to talk right now. He goes, but I just wanted to share that wonderful news with you. And I said, can I tell everybody? He's like, you can tell whoever you want.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest moment for me would be my son holding up a poster saying, hey guys, my dad's cancer-free. My dad's in remission and cancer-free. And like to see him jumping around and so happy and like it changed my life completely, because now I appreciate time so much more. Because as you see, time is something that's not promised. And anytime you're ever in a situation, if you're at work, if to any of the listeners and somebody says to you that, hey, don't waste my time because time is money, tell them no. In fact, time is invaluable. Time is something that you can't buy back. Because if the doctor told me that I had 6 months to live and I said to him, listen, I can give you $50 million, but can I buy another 10 years? He said, no. I can't do that for you. No amount of money you can give could buy back the 1 minute, let alone 1 second, let alone 1 minute. You know what I mean? Like, so time is the most valuable entity that we have. So when you are spending time with people, be sure to be spending time with people who deserve it, because there's a lot of time wasters out there. And if somebody's out there wasting your time, giving you empty promises, delivering you an atlas, good riddance.
How do you use your time now? What's changed in your life in terms of how you...
Honestly, I could be using my time a lot better than I am. I try my best to be there, be present for my wife and my son. Obviously now, I'm doing a bit of traveling, speaking engagements. I've, 2 weekends in a row I've been away from my family, because I work as a commentator now for boxing with Main Event of Fox Sports. Yeah. I also, was away from my book launch, where my book was given Memoir of the Year. Yeah. And I just try to fill in my time now with, doing a bit of training, looking after a couple of clients, speaking engagements, going to schools, talking to kids about the importance of education, the importance of setting goals. That's what I'm all about now.
Yeah.
But I do find a lot of joy in spending time with my son and my wife. Even though my wife might not think that sometimes, you know what I mean? But I actually do. I don't care about anything else. That's the truth.
Deep down.
Sometimes it's hard for people to see that.
Because I see you're so engaged in other things.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You must be so into a lot of stuff.
Exactly. And the other thing is, like, I'm probably as guilty as a lot of other people. We tend to have this sickness called a mobile phone. and we often waste time on our mobile phone, and recently, with this Palestine Gaza thing, I've just been pinning my phone so much, and it's, like, keeps me up at night, because I'm just so infuriated of what I'm seeing right now, it's like wasting time. But, we try our best, we do our dua, and we ask Allah to protect each and every single human out there.
Last one, what would be your reflection to, I guess, the community, right? People around those suffering from cancer or going through chronic illness. Tell us about, what message you would have to people out there, I suppose.
The most important message that I have for anybody out there who is suffering from cancer first is that put your reliance in Allah, trust in a higher power. Whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whatever it is that you are, you need to trust and put your faith in a higher power. And for all those who are related to somebody or have a loved one that's going through this, be there. Because as much as you think that they don't want to talk and they don't want you, the most important thing is to know that people are there for you, that you're there and you have a reason to fight. Give that person a reason to fight. Let them know that you love them and you're going to miss them. You want them to fight as hard as they can, because, for me, I think it was a blessing because I got such a good platform, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people from around the world, supported me, prayed for me. And maybe it wasn't my prayer, maybe it wasn't the prayer of my mother or my friends, but maybe it was the prayer of some orphan child overseas who God said, you know what, I'm going to answer this child's prayer and I'm going to give Bilal remission.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be there, be present, be with these people. They need you.
And what's your because this was something that was really interesting from what you said. What are your thoughts on how we relate to each other as human beings coming out of this experience? So what you did with Prince Nassim, for example, do you feel that it shouldn't have taken cancer for it to get to that point? Like, what did it teach you about how you are with people now that you've been in that zone?
You know, when I was sick, it gave me an opportunity to rectify so many of my relationships with people that I had fallen out with, because I was like in the mindset that I don't want to live this dunya, this world, with any enemies. So I'm going to rectify all that. And now I don't have any enemies. And even if I could create enemies, I don't.
Because you've got this mindset now.
Yeah, because of this mindset. And I don't wish hate or against this. You can dislike people, but I don't wish hate or anything bad against anybody. I would never wish hate against anybody. So I just feel like it's really changed my mindset. And now I just feel like, if you have time for me, then I have time for you. If you don't have time for me, then that's okay. No problem. You know what I mean? It's no issue. I'm not holding grudges. And again, you know what I mean? Like, as I said, in the past, I've put reliance a lot on people and even some close people to me. And I just feel like, it's sometimes you just got to cut the cord.
Yep.
It's how you heal, man.
Yeah. Good on you, bro. Good on you. That's some amazing reflections for all of us to learn from. Amazing stuff. So before we wrap up, everyone, I just wanted to remind you again about Billy's book. Again, the name was...
A True Heart.
A True Heart.
The Fights of My Life. And basically, if you go to my webpage, which is www.billydib.com, and you visit my page, I will post the book out to you right away. The other thing is that I've developed a new brand called Believe, which is BILLYVE.com.
Running that right now.
And I'm wearing it right now. It's on my hat also.
Nice.
If you go to the webpage, you can also order the book, or you can order some merch, apparel and merch from that page. It's a brand about having goals, setting goals. The slogan that goes underneath is vision, consistency, success. Everything in your life starts with a vision. The consistent approach will only help you find success, inshallah.
Inshallah. Beautiful. Love it. Absolutely love it. So guys, to everyone watching, a reminder again to make sure you take part in Fitness for Cancer if you can. If not, then at least support someone who's setting up one of their pages. Billy's page will be up at some point soon. I'll give him a run for his money, of course, with my millions of fans out there who'll help me raise those funds. But and a reminder to everyone as well that Real Talk is now on Spotify. So if you're the type of person who likes to listen to these episodes rather than watch them, which is totally fine, then make sure you sort of go and become a follower on the Spotify page. You'll get all the notifications for all the new episodes, and you can listen to them and benefit from them there, inshallah. And of course, a final reminder: NZF, is made possible by the likes of our community, the likes of yourselves in our community, who give through the generosity of their heart. So keep supporting NZF through your local zakat, directed to local causes, and of course sadaqah, which is welcome anytime, inshallah, for the betterment of the community. Billy, my brother, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, a wonderful conversation, and I ask Allah to preserve you, make everything easy for you, to make you a wonderful father, and to keep us away from trials and tribulations, unless they make us better people.
May Allah reward you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, brother. Barakallahu feek. And Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We'll be back again with the next Real Talk episode, and I look forward to talking to you then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.